First, I would like to apologize for speaking in English, a language foreign to me and foreign to you, but it's safer for a presentation about technology. I'm a consultant of the USC Shoah Foundation Institute for Educational Programs, so if you had any questions later on about also educational aspects, which I will not be getting into, you can ask me in Polish. My presentation today will be mostly about the technological side of our work with minimal context. As you probably know, the name of the organization that used to be the Shoah Foundation for Visual History and Education changed in the year 2000 when it became an independent research institute at University of Southern California. That's the USC in our name, where we exist as a part of the university. But especially for Poland, an interesting piece of context is the fact that if it wasn't for Poland and the survivors in Poland, the whole initiative would have never happened, because it was during filming of Schindler's List that the world-famous director realized that there are many, many people whose life stories may be interesting as much as the story of the Nazi who saved Jews. Despite the fact that Steven Spielberg initiated the establishment of the Shoah Foundation, it never was his organization, and he never funded it himself, which are the strongest stereotypes about our organization. He established Shoah Foundation as a pure production company, which was tasked with filming as many interviews with Holocaust survivors as possible with minimal costs worldwide. This was the main task of the Shoah Foundation in the mid-1990s. If I was to mock our history a little bit, I would say that we were to academical oral history programs what McDonald's is to restaurants, because of the geographical scope, language scope, and production scope in numbers. The interviews were recorded by volunteers who were trained in the Yale University methodology. So the interviews are full life narratives with photographs and documents and family members being introduced at the end of their filmed interview. One of the very important aspects of our work back then was providing the interviewees with a VHS copy of their interview, because especially in our region, in Central and Eastern Europe, many people spoke for the first and last time, and they actually used this tape that they received from us to tell their children and grandchildren, which is fascinating, and one day somebody will write a nice PhD thesis about this impact of our work. The result of this production work was almost 52,000 video testimonies, approximating 105,000 hours of video footage. For those of you who are good in mathematics, you can calculate how many 8-hour working days it would take you to watch all of this footage. I think with a 5-day work week, it comes to something over 70 years. So the very existence of this collection highlights the need of indexing and search tools once you establish a multimedia archive, be it oral history or anything else. Without proper index, we would have ended up with 105,000 hours of material, but we would have no idea what is in the material, because it was collected worldwide by more than 2,000 interviewers, by 70 regional coordinators, who maybe knew what was in those interviews, but their knowledge would be not transferable. The manual indexing of all those video interviews took 7 years, and the methodology changed a few times. It was a process of trial and error. And it's still not finished completely. We do have an index that works with 1-minute segments of the video footage. It's a hard-coded index that's pegged to a concrete minute in the testimony, and it works with a thesaurus of something under 62,000 keywords. The keywords contain geographical terms, people's names, generic historical events in a concrete territory, but also experiential keywords such as hunger or Stalinism. Also, all the photographs included at the end of the interviews were indexed separately. If we would look at the content of our archive, just by looking at the numbers, we actually uncover some interesting stereotypes, because you can see that the majority of archive falls into category Jewish survivors. What it really means is that 49,307 interviews were done with people who were labeled as Jews by the then existing legislation, whatever they would consider themselves to be. So under Jewish survivors, you actually have people who were practicing Catholics or any other confessional religion. You have people who would have considered themselves to be of completely different than Jewish nationality, but because the wartime racial laws labeled them as Jews, they fell into this category, including different kinds of Mischlinge and Arisch versipped categories of people. To give you a concrete example, if we had an interview with Jan Kiepura, he would fall into Jewish survivors, because the experience is not only an experience of camp survivors, but any person with any kind of a wartime experience. So it includes fighters on the Eastern Front, Western Front, all kinds of exile organizations, internal resistance, hiding experiences, false papers, everything. And then, separately from this, we have much small numbers of people who never were labeled as Jews. Rescuers and aid providers, Roma testimonies, liberators and liberation witnesses, political prisoners, and other smaller groups affected by the wartime policies of the Nazi regime. All of this was recorded worldwide, so the range of experiences that you get in a whole life narrative is actually amazing, especially when you look at experiences of forced migration, immigration, integration, assimilation or not assimilation, and all of that. And now I'm going into the technology. The metadata of the index sit completely separately from the video in the system of our multimedia database, and you can access this data through several kinds of proxies or different kind of graphic interfaces, some of which already exist and some of which will only be developed in the future. Some of this cataloging information you can actually access also on our regular web page. This is a new thing, and I will tell you more detail about it pretty soon. We have the generic biographical information for every single interviewee, which gives us the date of birth, all the names, that is the birth names, the illegal names, the post-war names. I don't have to get into what kind of issues one can get with this. And of course, because the archive was or is built from material collected worldwide, there are issues with transcription. So special method was applied to actually unify the transcription, especially of names, so that things collected worldwide could be cross-referenced and Karski is not spelled 7 different ways. Especially Hebrew is very problematic for this. All of this information can actually be exported and imported because it's just metadata. It can sit in an Excel file. But the real value is in the fact that all of this metadata is connected to the video minute per minute. By clicking on the keyword while using our multimedia database, you arrive to that very moment in the testimony where the information that's indexed appears, and you can listen to it in real time. Another big technological lesson was digitalization, or digitization, as I was told that's the proper term that I should be using. When we were filming the interviews in the mid of 1990s, Betacam SP analog technology was the norm. Even at that time, the original master tapes were immediately transferred to digital Betacam tapes. But that technological jump was a little bit premature, because actually the digital Betacam technology was much worse than the analog Betacam technology. The digital tapes rotted 2 years after the information was transferred to them. And what we are doing right now is we are retrieving the analog information from the original Betacam SP master tapes, transferring them to new digital formats that actually preserve the quality of the original analog data on the Betacam SP tapes. It's an incredible effort, and it's almost finished now, and it's only thanks to the conservative approach of the founding fathers that the original tapes, analog ones, were actually preserved. But they survived those 15 years in a much better shape than anything digital. There even is a funny joke that our chief of technology uses quite often: the newer media, the less it lasts. So currently we are digitizing the whole archive in JPEG 2000, which is the new industry format that's not really publicly available for institutional digitalization of multimedia files. It's a lossless codec that preserves the signal from the analog tapes in 1-to-1 ratio. But at the same time, during this transfer from the original master tape, several other files are created for further use. And those are the files that you may know, such as MPEG, Flash, Windows Media, or QuickTime. Even when you do this, you still have to keep preserving the archive, because the hard disks die. So we actually have disk data that's continuously being copied, upgraded, automatically moved. The bad media is automatically thrown out, and all of the content is mirrored at a huge 40 petabyte disk stations. All of this would have been impossible if we didn't move to University of Southern California, which is a university dedicated to researching digital storage and digital access systems. It's incredibly expensive. It's from those servers that all the access points to the archives actually get their information. And while talking about access points, I should tell you about the ways how you can access this incredible database. You can go to our normal website, which is option number 1. There you have a lot of clips, a lot of full testimonies in English, and we are currently in the process of starting a project which would lend one non-English full-length testimony, unedited as it sits in the archive, in each of the non-English languages every month of the year 2012. So soon there should be at least some full-length testimonies in Polish available as well. Actually today the first one came live, and you can get to those through normal internet, through our normal website. Other access option, so far only in English, is YouTube. There are 96 full-length testimonies in English on our YouTube channel. There are several reasons for the English language testimonies from countries of immigration being treated a little bit differently than testimonies collected in Europe. And I think I don't have to explain to you that there is a difference of a perceived potential harm caused by putting a full-length testimony of somebody who lives in New Jersey as opposed to putting online a full testimony of somebody who lives in Eastern Slovakia on the internet with all the names and faces of their grandchildren. This is one of the reasons, not the only one. The third option of accessing the archive is actually accessing the whole archive. Because of the scope of the multimedia data, currently the archive could be accessed only through something that for simplification is called Internet 2. It's the backbone of Internet broadband, which is able to pull the video in real time from Los Angeles without much problems. And such an access has to be licensed. It's actually cheaper than other databases that universities subscribe to, but it still costs money, and it actually costs a lot of money in terms of the equipment that the access point has to prepare before they license the access. Because each of the access sites needs a pretty big memory cache onto which to download or pre-download the testimonies from Los Angeles so that they would be immediately accessible. And the connection to backbone fast internet tends to be prohibitively expensive. So currently it's available only at big research institutions and big universities. It has different names in different countries, so I'm not even getting into details of which internet cable this is. What probably will be more interesting for you is the beta testing access to all the metadata through our web page. There was something called testimony catalog on our webpage where you can search by names and places of birth and dates of birth and see if this person gave an interview which is stored in our archive. Right now, at the web address which is here in blue, you can actually search the metadata. So not only you would know if the interview is there, but you would get an idea of what the interview is about from looking at the metadata. The video still will not play, but at least you would see the keywords. Those are the access sites as of now. Hopefully, if the angels and gods will be looking at us favorable, soon there will be a sub-site at the History Meeting House here in Warsaw. But this is what it looks like as of now. So the nearest place with full access to Warsaw is Prague. Another way how educators, now I'm really talking about high school educators, could access material from the archive is through an educational platform called Eyewitness, which was built primarily for use in the US educational system. So far it exists only in English. It contains testimonies only in English. What it does is it provides teachers and through them their students with access to 1,000 testimonies in English with full index, and tasks could be created by the teachers that the students have to complete, involving research, information retrieval, and actually combining data from the interviews in a multimedia setting. So besides teaching about the history, the Eyewitness platform actually teaches all kinds of literacies connected with 21st century, digital literacy, media literacy, critical thinking, information evaluation, and so on and so forth. But as I said, so far it's only in English, and if we wanted to develop something like this for our region, we probably would have to alter the setting a little bit. It was already mentioned here, but I want to recognize that even us with our archive are facing several concerns while we are trying to widen the benefits from having this archive. We want to enable teachers to use multimedia material in their classrooms. We want to enable as many researchers as possible to access this material. We want to inform the public, but at the same time, we have to protect the privacy of the people who gave us the interviews. We have to provide full context to the testimonies, which I think is the most important point of any use of oral history, and especially in an educational setting. Because without context, and I mean full context, not only where and when was the interview recorded, but what does it mean, the content could quite easily be manipulated, misunderstood, and abused. Context connects to interpretation, because we really have, especially when using oral histories for education, provide our own interpretation. Because in our world of multi-perspective, pupils or our public could get confused over what do we really mean. And sometimes instead of shattering prejudice, we can be actually spreading prejudice. This is one of the reasons why approach to putting interviews in countries where Holocaust actually took place is a little bit different from using full testimonies in countries of immigration. There are countries such as Hungary where putting a full testimony that includes identification markings of grandchildren can actually affect the work possibilities of the grandchildren. It may sound scary, and I don't want to spread fear, but there are countries like that, and I have heard several practical instances of knowledge of somebody's grandmother being Jewish affecting their current life today. And we have to be aware of this while working with our archive. I want to show you, not to take too much of our time, the web page again. It looks like it's all in English, and feel free to explore all of its English language content, but it actually has a non-English part where you can click on those buttons and get to material in all of those languages. If you wanted to look at quite interesting testimonies in Ukrainian, you can get to them, including a lesson about Holodomor. And a lesson about Holodomor is not what you would expect from an institution that's being perceived as Jewish. Or you can click on the Polish button, and you will get to this page, where so far there are 2 sets of educational materials and 1 full-length testimony, and you can have a look at that. This is what it looks like in one of the lessons. I think it's most important for you, or for your understanding of what we do, to have a look at those testimonies, because it's clear how we work with them. It manifests quite practically the main mission of our institution, which is to fight prejudice and hatred and stereotypes through educational use of testimonies from our archive. Our work is not focused just on the Second World War or the fate of the Jews. You may have heard that we are currently including a unique collection of interviews with survivors of the Armenian genocide. About 600 interviews are being included into our archive. We are currently interviewing survivors of other genocides, and more the archive is being profiled as a major resource for genocide studies and genocide prevention activities. Looking for us in Europe, looking at the genocide that's chronologically the closest to us, geographically and culturally the most understandable for us, and the most documented one, but it's still just a genocide, and that's the main educational aspect of using our archive, looking at how hatred is being used and